Right in front of you. To your left.
Like the renovation start. Okay, welcome everyone. I'm now calling this meeting to order. Before we get started, we'll have prayer. And Chris, will you lead us in prayer? And then Alderman Payne, will you lead us in the pledge after that? But beforehand, again, just to make sure that we've got, we're doing this board meeting remotely, to make sure that we have all of our board members present. I can see some of you on the screen. I appreciate that. Some of you are not hooked up to video capability, so for that reason, we'll just do a quick roll call. If you will, just say here. Alderman Brooks.
Here.
Alderman Kelly.
Here.
Alderman Hoops is here with us. Alderman Payne is here with us. Alderman Gallagher.
Here.
Alderman Wheeler.
Here.
Alderman Flores.
Here.
Okay, we have everybody with us. Well, now everybody please stand. And Chris, we appreciate you leading us in prayer.
Heavenly Father, Lord God, we come to you tonight. Father, we thank you again for this awesome opportunity to come here tonight, and Lord, for the business of our city to be conducted. Father, I thank you for our city leaders, and Lord, as they have faced many challenges and big decisions to make during this time. Lord, I pray you just continue to bless them with wisdom and discernment. And Lord, help them to make the right decisions. Lord, I pray you just use them tonight as instruments in your hand to carry out what needs to be done. And Father, we do thank you for your protection upon our nation, upon our community. Lord, although we've faced diversity during this time, Lord, we've known we can turn to you. And Father, again, we just ask that you just be with us and lead us in this time of this meeting tonight. In Jesus' name, amen.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, first on the agenda this evening is approval of minutes for two meetings. We take one motion, we do both. Is this satisfactory, Nick? So if someone will make a motion to approve both the regular meeting on April 7th, 2020 and the special meeting on April 17th, 2020, I will appreciate that.
Mr. Mayor, I move to approve the minutes of the regular meeting on April 7th and the special meeting on April 17th with any additions, deletions, or corrections.
Second. We have a motion by Alderman Payne, second by Alderman Hoots. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Alderman Brooks.
Here. Aye.
Alderman Kelly.
Yes.
Alderman Hoots.
Yes.
Alderman Payne.
Yes.
Alderman Gallagher.
Yes.
Alderman Wheeler.
Yes.
Alderman Flores.
Yes.
That motion carries. Next on the agenda is a repeal of the civil emergency ordinance that went into effect on March 22nd of 2020. Just so everyone knows, we're going to get into a discussion later on in the mayor's report for an update for the COVID-19 comeback plan. What this is doing tonight, since we've had lots of activity since March the 22nd, the city voted to implement the civil emergency plan on March 22nd. Then after that is when Governor Reeves came in with the shelter-in-place order. So for that reason, it's not necessary for us to have the civil emergency ordinance. We'll just abide by the governor's shelter-in-place order until we have the leniency as a city to revise our comeback plan. So if someone will make a motion to repeal that ordinance, please.
I'll make that motion, Mayor.
Second.
We have a motion from Alderman Payne, second from Alderman Hoots. Is there any discussion?
We're repealing the resolution, but the ordinance for the penalty will stay in place. So if we were to pass another one, we'll have that ordinance, but the resolution declaring the emergency, we repeal the ordinance, which had penalties for violating, it will still stay in place in case we're acting.
I should revise mine.
No, in the minutes, we're putting a resolution, Mark, I'm saying.
Everyone understand that? Dick, city attorney, was just saying that the penalties for the ordinance will still stay in effect for enforcement reasons. It's just the ordinance itself is not necessary any longer. Because it's been replaced. There's another valid order in place to enforce, so it's not necessary to have the March 22nd. Any discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Alderman Brooks.
Yes.
Alderman Kelly.
Yes.
Alderman Hoots.
Yes.
Alderman Payne.
Yes.
Alderman Gallagher.
Yes.
Alderman Wheeler.
Yes.
Alderman Flores.
Yes.
That motion carries. Next on the agenda is our fiscal year 19 audit presentation. Mr. Chris Wilson.
Mayor Board, previously emailed reports to you, hard copies are in each of your boxes. This is what we do annually. The board has to adopt and agree to the audit. As I said, the major findings were an unassigned fund balance of $11.9 million. The city's debt was decreased by $9.5 million. And again, as we said, there were unmodified report, no material weaknesses, no significant deficiencies, no non-compliance with financial statements, no non-compliance with deficiencies in the federal awards, and a clean audit. Happy to answer your question.
Again, very impressed.
Yeah, she obviously does financial reporting. Auditors come in and they're out. We again will submit the report to the GFOA for recognition. We feel strongly about it again this year. Strong report.
And just to recap again, I echo Alderman Payne's comments. Very appreciative of our finance and administration department that Chris Wilson supervises. Edie McElwain and Tish Cox do an incredible job, with our books, and Chris does a great job with that too. So to have these incredible audits that many years in a row is not the norm. So it's definitely going way above and beyond what the normal accounting standards are. So the citizens in our city should be very proud and feel very comfortable that we have these type practices in place, and that our department is able to do this so well. So thank you for this.
And again, it's a testament to Edie's work that this gets turned around 180 days after the end of the fiscal year. We've already submitted it to the state audit. That's what we have to do. We stay along and that's all the other agencies throughout the state that require our schools.
And for the full board, again, back to unassigned fund balance, it's important to note, as Chris stated, that our unassigned fund balance is $11.9 million. In the budget preparations, we estimated that it would be 11.8, so we're spot on with that. So just to let you know, all the calculations and the planning that we've done from a capital improvement situation, we're good with that. Our estimate of 11.8 definitely was confirmed as it came in at 11.9.
It's 24% of your general fund budget.
It's outstanding. Okay, is there any As far, just in the minutes, or what board action do we need?
Adopt.
Set on it.
Okay, is there a motion to accept and adopt the audit?
Mr. Mayor, I make the motion to accept and adopt the 2019
Second.
We have a motion by Alderman Payne, second by Alderman Flores. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Alderman Brooks.
Yes.
Alderman Kelly.
Yes.
Yes.
Alderman Payne.
Yes.
Alderman Gallagher.
Alderman Gallagher,
Yes, I can't hear her, I'm sorry.
you want to try to, can you like, maybe just when you're doing the roll call, maybe come up to the podium? Yeah. Thank you.
Alderman Wheeler.
Yes.
Alderman Flores.
Yes.
That motion carries. Next on the agenda is the R.J. Young agreement for copier in our Parks Department. Mr. Nick Manley.
Yeah, this agreement is just for the Parks Department, copy machines, the same agreement we've done with R.J. Young, the language that we've requested in the past, so authorization for either the mayor or Wes Brown to sign that agreement.
So moved.
Second.
Sorry, who made the second?
Williams.
Wait. I have a motion by Alderman Payne, second by Alderman Brooks. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed say no. Ayes have it, motion carries. Next on the agenda is a resolution for ratification of emergency expenditures.
Yeah, this ratification will, this resolution will ratify the emergency expenditures for PJ's cleaning service and overall chemical. Due to the pandemic and COVID-19, the current cleaning company, who will be starting May 1st, could not get here until, could not, supposed to be starting April 1st, could not start until May 1st. So during that time, we had to have someone clean the building and the city facility. So these two companies have done that. And so this resolution tonight will just ratify those expenditures. We weren't under contract with them, but due to the situation of the pandemic, we had to have buildings cleaned and disinfected. So this resolution will ratify those expenditures amount of $3,426.75, and it will also ratify the remaining expenditures for the rest of the month of April. So tonight's the authorization for the mayor to sign that resolution to approve those expenditures as an emergency based on the need for cleanliness and disinfection during this time.
Mr. Mayor, I
I'll
make the motion.
make a motion.
We have a motion by Alderman Payne, second by Alderman Gallagher. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Alderman Brooks. Alderman Brooks.
Yes.
Alderman Kelly.
Yes.
Alderman Hoots.
Yes.
Alderman Payne.
Yes.
Alderman Gallagher.
Yes.
Alderman Wheeler.
Yes.
Alderman Flores.
Yes.
That motion carries. Next on the agenda is a resolution for surplus.
This was just authorization for surplus of the old furniture in the City Hall boardroom in the amount, or in the City Hall boardroom before now, not Old City Hall, in the City Hall boardroom in accordance with Mississippi Code 172525.
Mr. Mayor, I'll move we adopt the resolution of the Mayor and Board of Aldermen of the City of Southaven to collect surplus property with the furniture.
We have a motion by Alderman Payne, second by Alderman Hoots. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Alderman Brooks.
Yes.
Alderman Kelly.
Yes.
Alderman Hoots.
Yes.
Alderman Payne.
Yes.
Alderman Gallagher.
Yes.
Alderman Wheeler.
Yes.
Alderman Flores.
Yes.
That motion carries. Next on the agenda is the residential auto sales ordinance. This was tabled at the last meeting. It's old business. And again, this is an issue that the ordinance committee discussed heavily and wanted to bring before the full board to make an adjustment to it. Evidently, we've learned that the city of Southaven is the only city in DeSoto County that does not have this ordinance, which limits the number of vehicles that may be sold from a personal residence. Obviously, the purpose of this is to clearly define a commercial auto lot in a residential dwelling or property, and that seems to get kind of abused at times in the city. So that's the purpose of it. So is there a wish from the board to go ahead and pass this tonight or table? And I'll take your direction.
I'll make a motion to pass it.
We got a motion from Alderman Flores to pass it.
Gallagher agrees.
Okay, we got a motion from Alderman Flores to pass it. We got a second by Alderman Gallagher. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Alderman Brooks,
Yes.
Alderman Kelly,
Yes.
Alderman Hoots,
Yes.
Alderman Payne,
Yes.
Alderman Gallagher,
Yes.
Alderman Wheeler,
Yes.
Alderman Flores.
Yes.
That motion carries. Okay, next on the agenda is our planning agenda. Ms. Whitney Cook.
Yes, sir. We have two items on the agenda tonight. Our first item is a request for a conditional use permit at 905 Town and Country Drive, Suite F. The applicant is proposing a motor vehicle repair facility in an existing multi-bay building. The suite that he is specifically asking and requesting approval for has overhead roll-up doors at the west end. There was previously a motor vehicle shop in this location. So he is asking to locate in the same bay, which was already designed for this type of use. There is proper drainage and proper storage on site, as well as drive-in bays to have all the storage materials on the interior of the site or behind a fenced-in area. Obviously, we've got the code that allows only 2 cars to be exposed at any one time. However, we put it in his conditional use permit that he cannot have any exposed cars at any one time on site. So with that stipulation, Planning Commission did vote unanimously for a 1-year conditional use permit and a 4-year extension to be renewed annually.
Mayor, I'll make a motion to approve item 1 of the planning agenda.
Second.
On item 1, we have a motion by Alderman Hoots and a second by Alderman Payne. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Alderman Brooks,
Yes.
Alderman Kelly,
Yes.
Alderman Hoots,
Yes.
Alderman Payne,
Yes.
Alderman Gallagher,
Yes.
Alderman Wheeler,
Yes.
Alderman Flores.
Yes.
That motion carries on item 1.
Item number 2, we have a request to rezone 6.3 acres of property on the north side of State Line Road, just west of Airways. Right now, the entire piece of property is zoned general commercial, or C3. There are 3 parcels associated with this area. 2 have frontage on State Line Road. In this rezoning to a PUD, the applicant would like to keep the C3 zoning as an underlying use for those 2 parcels. The back of the property is the larger piece of the property, 5.4 acres. It is actually adjacent to the Memphis border, behind the, I believe it's a Tiger Mart Exxon right there on the hard corner. It's been vacant for years, and he wants to try and occupy this for an RV parking area, and also for some little cabins. Very similar to what you see on Highway 51 with the Yogi Bear RV park, without the mini storage. We feel that that's a good use because it has sat vacant for a long time, and there's really no commercial use conducive to that actual location and without the visibility needed. Comprehensive plan does call for this area to be mixed use, so it is compliant with the comprehensive plan, and the C3 up front is conducive with the character of the surrounding neighborhoods. So Planning Commission did vote unanimously to accept the rezoning to PUD unanimously.
Mr. Mayor, make a motion to approve item number 2 on the agenda presented.
Second.
On On item 2, we have a motion by Alderman Kelly, second by Alderman Payne. Is there any discussion?
Yeah, but they gotta do landscaping around
Yes.
state line and all.
Both of those two parcels on State Line Road will have required 20-foot landscape buffers along the frontage. Anything that goes there will have to go through design review and site plan, just like we see here for whatever building goes there. We will also have the decorative fencing and the landscaping going along areas as well.
Any other discussion among the board? Hearing none, is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak regarding the property? Hearing or seeing none, roll call.
Alderman Brooks.
Yes.
Alderman Kelly.
Yes.
Alderman Hoots.
Yes.
Alderman Payne.
Yes.
Alderman Gallagher.
Yes.
Alderman Wheeler.
Yes.
Alderman Flores.
Yes.
That motion carries. Okay, next on the agenda is our mayor's report. As I mentioned earlier, I am going to give an update regarding the COVID-19 comeback plan. Before I get into that, I'd like to go ahead and take care of some business that was not ready at the deadline to go on the agenda, and just discuss a few things with you. The first thing is our engineering consultant, Civil Link. We've had discussions about our asphalt contract, and I just want the board, just a quick update to let you know that I will be asking Civil Link to amend the contract for our street resurfacing to give more accountability to the thickness of the asphalt that's applied. A lot of the stuff that we're doing now, we're having our own engineering consultants team inspect that to verify that, basically we're getting what we pay for. I think that is a waste of resources. I think that we could be more efficient financially with that. And so what I'm going to request going to the contract is that we have, with the contract, that we have teeth, we have accountability to the contractor, that we don't have to stand over them and watch the thickness. So they could be held accountable to come back and resurfacing the road if we start to have any road failures prematurely with that. I've noticed that over my years of overseeing that, that is a problem, and I think it's one that needs to be corrected. So mainly just want the board to know, it's not time, Nick, do you know the time for the contract? Okay, I was thinking it was this summer sometime, so we will get into that later, but just wanted to put that on your radar. I want the board members to know that. Any questions about that? Next of all, we had a recent request and a great idea. Alderman Wheeler brought an idea to my attention, which my heart is broken, for the seniors, the high school and college seniors of 2020, that this virus and pandemic has, unprecedentedly affected their senior year. It's a terrible thing. And so with this coming on in the spring, some of your spring sports, your baseball, softball, specifically, they had their seasons canceled. I mean, they barely even started, and for the seniors, it's just such a tragic thing, that they didn't get to finish their senior season. So for that reason, the idea was that we would try to throw a little happy their way, that we would honor them, by putting up some kind of banner in the city for these athletes. I think it's a great idea, as I told Alderman Wheeler. I'm 100% behind that. However, there are some concerns how we would do that. We looked at possibly changing district banners and putting them up in place of those. We realized that that's a massive undertaking. It would take a large amount of city resources, used to tie up the city's bucket trucks, that need to be used for other purposes. So that's going to be a tough thing to do, but another good idea was to place them not at the intersections, but on the wooden poles near their schools. So I think that's a good idea as well. But in order for us to do that, we do have to have board approval to use public resources to hang those banners. We've communicated, or Alderman Wheeler's communicated to the schools that they will, have to pay for the banners and the brackets themselves, but the city would provide the resources to actually hang them. The other thing that's contingent upon that I've explained to Alderman Wheeler, just to make sure that that we followed the school's request, and that everyone knows that the last thing I would want to do is disrespect any other athlete or any other student that's a senior. So I need some type of verification from the school principals exactly which teams or which banners we're going to put up. So as soon as we have that information, hopefully we can move forward. But tonight, I do need board authorization for us to use city resources to hang the banners.
I'll make that motion. But actually, I'd like to go a step further. I'd like to see the city do something to honor all the seniors. I mean,
Sure.
it's not just the athletes, but it's everyone who lost the best part of their senior year, which were the last couple months, if there was any way for Southaven to South Central, maybe Southaven, we could display a banner, somewhere on State Line Road or somewhere on Getwell Road, just saying Southaven loves and supports, their class of 2020. I think would be just a great message from the city, and I'd love to see us do something.
Sure, and I appreciate that idea. I agree with you. And Nick, as far as the city doing something like that, I know that state law does restrict us in some ways in buying things like that. Like I said, we can donate some resources, but as far as actually buying it, do you see any issues with that, Nick?
I think what you can do tonight is not right. The board wants to tonight, I think what you could do is pass a motion pursuant to Mississippi Code 21-1965, Mississippi Code 1731, Mississippi Code 1733, that would just cite the language requiring that shows opportunities, possibilities, resources of the city promoting school and school seniors in this time right now. And then that would allow you to use personnel at the city so desires to hang the banners and to purchase one or two banners for certain schools. So I think that's all it did. I think it would allow you to do that under those statutes. So I think you could do it from that standpoint. If you have under the statutory authority for that.
So the same thing that we were going to pass to authorize use of resources to hang them, that would allow us, if we can come up with something like Alderman Payne is talking about, it would give us the authority to do that as well.
Yes, sir. I think you could. I mean, as far as bringing favorable notice to the city and opportunities and everything within the city under those statutes, and that would be, I think, would qualify under these statutes in this time. I don't know if it would apply every year, but I think under this circumstances and this year it could apply based off everything that's going on.
Okay, thank you. All right, so we have a motion, Alderman Payne. Is there Alderman Wheeler? Will you second that?
He seconds.
Is he muted?
You shut out over here, I think your phone is over there.
My phone or your phone?
The phone that you've been talking on over there.
The mic is still on. Your phone's right there. Is that the one?
Yeah, they're not, they're still not hearing it.
Okay, while he's working on that, we do have a motion of Alderman Payne. Alderman Wheeler did second the motion. Is there any other discussion? He was talking about doing something not just for, the banners that the schools ask us to do. He was talking about the city doing something in general for all of our high schools, like maybe putting up just some kind of banner that honored all the students, not just athletes or any specific ones. Maybe putting that up somewhere in the city to honor all the seniors this year.
Just something generic, Southaven loves our class of 2020. Something, maybe one that's orange and blue, and then one that's purple and yellow. For the South Central. All these seniors are having a tough year. They're having a tough time. Their proms were canceled. Their last couple of months have been canceled. Granted, things can be worse, I know, but I just any kind of support. I think it look good from the city, just saying, hey, guys, we love y'all.
And I did ask Nick previously, this motion or this action would include authorization for North Point Christian School. That's our third high school in the city. So, yeah. This action would give us the authority to do all, like to do the general. Yeah, it would allow us to do the general banners that Alderman Payne's talking about, and the specific ones that the schools have requested. Thank you. Any other discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Alderman Brooks. Alderman Kelly. Alderman Hoots.
Yes.
Alderman Payne.
Yes.
Alderman Gallagher. Alderman Wheeler. Alderman Flores.
Okay, that motion carries. Then the last issue, in a previous board meeting, we had a discussion about a private ingress-egress road in the city, Banks Cove East. We had some local property owners come present to us that it was never their intent for that to be a private drive. This, just to remind everyone, this is an area that's off of Nail Road, just north of Nail, where we have a public street, Banks Road, that ends in a T, and then we have Banks Cove West and then Banks Cove East. Well, Banks Cove West and Banks Road are all public streets, but the T side of Banks Cove East is not. So they brought up a good question. We've talked about this in the past, how the city didn't have the authority to go in and repave the road or the cove because it was a private road. And so they've expressed over and over that that was not their intent, even though the documents back when it was platted, it was platted as a private road. So that's the reason that we've not done anything to this point. However, at the last meeting when we discussed this, our planning director, Whitney Cook, did make a suggestion that there is a way for us to go back and accept the road. It's not that we would be doing any work on a private road. It would be their request is that we take that private road as a city road, and they're willing to give that road to the city, let it be a public road for public use, and then we would have the authority to maintain it just like we do other public streets. And Whitney's suggestion is, and also confirmed by Nick Manley, is that if they're willing to do that, if they're willing to give us that, then we can they can apply, they can go through a variance application and apply for that to happen, and that we can do that. The cost to overlay that cove has been estimated. In the previous meeting, I mentioned that I thought it would be about $10,000. We did have it estimated, and it's $12,600. So it's pretty right on to what I estimated. And so anyway, the issue tonight is will the board, before we send them through the variance application, basically it's going to save our staff time. There's no need for them to go through that if the board's not willing to make that decision. So the ask tonight is, will you agree to accept Banks Cove East as a public city street? Yes, need a motion. Okay, we have a motion by Alderman Wheeler.
I'll second.
Okay, got a second by Alderman Payne. Is there any discussion?
I think tonight would be offer a motion to allow the funds upon acceptance. So they need the variance, then we would accept it. So tonight, because the variance would come first, then you would accept it. So tonight would be authorizing the expenditure of funds upon acceptance of the variance.
Right, basically and we'll change it however you recommend. I was basically, we're wanting to know if they're willing to accept it at that time. So what Nick is saying, board, is that basically what we need to know, it's still contingent upon them going through the variance application process, but we just want to save time. We don't want to go through that process because ultimately it's going to be placed in your lap to make a decision. At that time, will you be willing to accept the street? And so is that still your motion, Alderman Wheeler? That's still your second? Alderman Payne agrees to second that. Any other discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Alderman Brooks.
Yes.
Alderman Kelly.
Yes.
Alderman Hoots.
Yes.
Alderman Payne.
Yes.
Alderman Gallagher.
Yes.
Alderman Wheeler. Alderman Flores.
Yes.
Okay, that motion carries. So Whitney, if you will relay to them that we need to go ahead and move forward with the variance application.
Our variance will be Monday night. So
Okay.
we'll take it to the Board of Adjustments, so we'll bring it back up to the Board of Aldermen the following Tuesday.
Okay, thank you. Okay, and that's all, sure.
So, Whitney, thank you so much for doing that. I mean, they seem pretty desperate the last few times they were here.
Yeah, they're good people, they
Yeah,
do
I'm
not
glad you're working it
understand,
out.
yeah, they didn't really understand the dynamics of what was going on between private and public road, and I don't think they were trying to pull the wool over our eyes, it was an honest, just misunderstanding, so, we can find a way to right and wrong.
It's just so we're clear, it hasn't been used for public.
Yes, it has been used.
There's been public use of it.
Thank you for doing that.
So that's the reason.
Okay. All right, we'll move on. And so last thing on my mayor's report this evening is I want to update the board and the public with our COVID-19 proposed comeback plan. We call this the 3350-100 plan because of the gradual process that it will be to implement it. So what I'd like to do tonight is just remind everyone, first of all, that this is contingent upon Governor Reeves allowing us his leniency. So after Friday, I said that Friday and I communicated that, but I know it's a lengthy thing and it's hard to, have a policy like that without it being very comprehensive. Because as soon as you try to be short and leave something out, here comes the other questions with that. So I apologize to the public that sometimes the communication is very lengthy, but that's the reason it has to be. And I know that people don't have time to read everything all the time, so for that reason, tonight I'm going to try to clarify some of the most frequently asked questions. But the first thing, again, for everybody, please listen to me. It's a proposed plan. It has not been implemented. The dates that I have on there are subject to change. It is contingent upon Governor Reeves giving us the leniency to do that. I've reached out to his office. I've explained that big cities like Southaven need a reasonable amount of turnaround time to communicate that to our public. His office has been really receptive to that, so I'm hoping that he will update the state sooner than later this week. That way we'll immediately start working on amending what he does with our plan and have that something ready for the board on a special meeting either Thursday or Friday, where we can get together and we can officially implement the plan. So first answer is proposed. It's contingent upon the governor. The second thing is the reason you may ask, well, why would you go ahead and do that if it can change? Well, the first thing is it takes a large amount of time to do what I just said. To take one order and then integrate it in with what the city already has and then also make tweaks to it to make it an effective plan. So it takes time to do that. So the reason we went ahead and released that is to give, number one, like I said Friday, to give people hope, that we're not just sitting, waiting on the governor. We're not just sitting, waiting on some miraculous vaccine. We are considering all risks daily, and we're putting a plan in place, the framework, so where we're ready when the governor gives us the ability to do that. The second thing is I have a lot of people on both sides of the issue. I understand that you're concerned. I understand that. This has been a very scary virus. It's something that none of us have experienced before. I understand your concern. So I want everyone to know that this is no plan to where we're going to wake up one day and say, hey, hallelujah, let's hit the road again. All our worries are gone. Let's all go back 100%. We understand that it's a very dangerous thing. And as I stated Friday, we're not in the clear yet. We got to be very careful. We do understand our proximity to Memphis. We understand that we face challenges that other Mississippi cities do not have because of our proximity to the densely populated Memphis metro. We're aware of that. We're taking all that into account. The other thing is we're aware that we have the second most positive cases. But I will let everybody know that's no surprise. I mean, sometimes people say, how can you be thinking about a comeback when you have the second most positive cases in the state? Well, that's no surprise to us. I mean, we're one of the most densely populated areas, and if you add Memphis to the equation, you could arguably say we are the number one most densely populated area in Mississippi. So the fact that we had the most cases, that's not a surprise. We knew that. We factored that into every decision that we made all along. The other thing I would add, and I try not to get into statistics too much, and the reason I don't, because if you turn on the national news tonight, you'll see the biggest experts in our country, some in the world, that still have question marks. They're scratching their head about the numbers. A lot of that has to do with the fact that there's a delay in the reporting process. So when we get a number like, I've been tracking this since the actual count since they started tracking it, since we had our first case on March 17th. Every day, like you may have 10 new positives one day, and you may have one the next. And a lot of that is not because there's a true trend, it's because there's a delay in reporting. So that's the reason that you can't always just go on those numbers. And so anything that I propose to this board and to the people of Southaven is not just with that information. I have much other information that I'm gathering every day, and so it's not just limited to that. So when you say, hey Mayor, did you think about this? The answer tonight is yes, I did think about that. You can still ask me questions, I welcome that, but I will assure you that I do not sleep much. I will assure you that we are looking at every statistic. We know where we are with Memphis. We know where we are with Mississippi. We watched what happened in New York. We understand that we're not the same as New York. All these things are taken into account. The next thing that I alluded to just briefly that I want to elaborate on is, are we just one day going to say, hey, you know what, we're all good. There's nothing to be afraid of anymore. Let's all go go flood the restaurants. I know everybody's missing our restaurants. I know they are. I hate it. I hate it myself. I mean, but no, the answer is no. We're not going to flick a switch and all rush back and start flooding places again. We know that it's still a dangerous thing, that we're going to gradually work our way in. That's the 3350 plan. And so I would encourage you, if you don't read anything else, at least read the statistics or the percentages and timelines that we're requiring. We're going to wait when we get the go-ahead from the governor. We're still going to monitor the statistics before I make a recommendation to the board, but there will still be at least a 2 to 3 week period where we limit the capacity to 33%. So, and then after that, again, another 2 weeks after that, where we're still limiting the capacity to 50% before we get to that 100% number. And then with that being said, the other thing that I'm amazed by, I get a lot of questions about, well, I'm afraid. Well, if you're afraid, anything that your local government does, we're going to make recommendations. We're going to pass laws to keep our people safe. That's our number one priority. But that doesn't take the place of private businesses and citizens using your own good judgment. You know, if you have a health issue that every expert has told you you're at higher risk, then you shouldn't jump back into this thing. Just because we have a comeback plan, that doesn't mean that it's okay for you to do that. It's still important that you know your own situation and make your own decisions to keep yourself safe. So same thing with businesses. I've had some businesses that said, well, if you implement this, how am I going to do this? Well, it's not my role to tell you how to run your business. It's my role to tell you how you can safely get started. But anything that you want to do in addition to that for more safety, we welcome that. That's your business. So I would encourage that. But again, the plan is a gradual plan that will bring us back cautiously, safely, and effectively. And when I tell people we're watching the statistics like a hawk, we're watching all the statistics like a hawk. So please be assured of that. The last thing moving in would be what this is. This is not just, to the question, Mayor, you care more about the city's economy than you do the city's health. First of all, let me explain something to you. Before we even get into the economy, which is a very serious concern and which is a job that you hired me to do, I take that very seriously. Our economy affects everything that we do in this city, and your economy eventually is going to affect your personal health, your livelihood, so they all do go together. But just let me address the first issue first. And I'm not the first person that's told you this. There's no doubt that the virus is dangerous. But when you take extreme measures like your governments have, the state of Mississippi, many state governments, the things that President Trump and his experts have recommended, these are drastic measures. I mean, none of us have ever been told to stay away from something. This is America. So this is drastic. This is something that none of us have faced before. But it's important to understand that that's only geared for a short term. It's not practical or even possible that you can keep people in these current situations indefinitely. People have got to know, hey, what's the timeline? When is there going to be some relief to this? Where is my hope? And so eventually, as the days go by, it's not just exclude economic health. It's talking about just physical health. It's not just about the danger that this virus can do to you or your family. It's also the other health risks. I mean, when you start, keeping people locked up, or not locked up, but when people are forced to stay home or to not go do the things that are, healthy for them both mentally and physically, you start to have mental health issues. It's a documented fact that you have problems with drugs and alcohol. You have domestic abuse issues. So there's other health risks. It's not like you're choosing one either to be safe or to be not safe. You face health risks on both ways with every decision. So I just want to point that out. Everybody that's watching or that may come back and watch, I want you to hear that I'm pouring my heart out to you. I want you to understand that I have the responsibility of not being one-sided or hindsighted. I don't have that luxury. We have to make decisions considering all the risks to our people. And so the last thing I would say is when you talk about this comeback plan, it's a rehabilitation plan. That's what it is. Just like if you had a physical ailment that knocked you down, that you're trying to recover from, you don't just one day wake up and get out of bed and you're 100%. With any kind of issue, it requires a rehabilitation period. So that's what this is. This is a period to where we're not getting out of bed and going to be well on day one, but we can't lay in the bed. Eventually you got to get out of the bed and put your feet on the floor and check it and start working your way towards recovery. So again, we don't expect to get out of bed one day and be 100% the next, but I'm just telling you from the bottom of my heart to my board members and to the citizens in Southaven, we've got to get up. We have got to get up and start working our way back. We can't lay around in fear. We've been terrified by the things that were, the information that was given to us 30 days ago. We've learned locally that all that we were told 30 days ago is not proven to be true here. And again, we're not out of the woods yet, but we've got to make decisions based on our own statistics. And the bottom line is we cannot continue to lay in bed. We have got to get up and start working our way back to recovery. But that's my message tonight. And again, last thing along with that is people have got to use common sense and business sense. We've done our best to try to steer our city in the right direction to keep us safe, but people have got to continue using common sense and business sense. So I'll end it with where we go from here. As I started this discussion, it is a proposed plan. It has not been implemented. It's subject to change based on what the governor tells us. So my plan at this point is to, as soon as the governor gives us direction and we know what kind of leniency we have, I will adapt that to our 30, 50, 100 plan, and I will call a special meeting either Thursday or Friday, and I will be asking the board at that time to officially implement the plan. So with that being said, any questions or discussion? Hearing none, we will move on. Next on our agenda is our citizens agenda. We did not have anyone that signed up for the agenda. Is there anyone in the audience who would like to speak? It doesn't look like people are knocking the doors down tonight, so.
Wendy, do you have something?
Okay, so we do not have anybody on the citizens agenda. What did you say? Anyone else? Okay, so we'll move on. Next on the agenda is our personnel document.
Mr. Mayor, I move we approve the personnel document presented on this date.
Second.
We have a motion by Alderman Brooks, second by Alderman Payne. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Alderman Brooks.
Yes.
Alderman Kelly.
Yes.
Alderman Hoots.
Yes.
Alderman Payne.
Yes.
Alderman Gallagher.
Yes.
Alderman Wheeler.
Yes.
Alderman Flores.
That motion carries. Next on our agenda is our city attorney's legal update. Mr. Nick Manley again.
Just have one quick item that came up earlier today. It's for sole source purchase from Baristas. It's for London Fog Equipment. It's used for the mosquito spraying. They're the only, they're the sole exclusive distributor for this truck. It's mounted model for the mosquito spraying, and they'll be in the amount of $10,705.17. Because tonight just authorized a sole source purchase for that equipment in the amount of $10,705.17, and the sole source purchase letter being put in the minutes as part of tonight's meeting.
Mr. Mayor, I'll make that motion.
Second. We have a motion by Alderman Payne, second by Alderman Hoots. Is there any discussion?
I think we're gonna be able to start spraying, right?
Well, we can start now if we want to. We were trying to get this equipment worked out so we would still have two units that we normally use. We can start with each in the city and working together so that we wouldn't be behind. We haven't had a lot of complaints, really, any of them we're getting a real problem this year. So we'd like to get this implemented in Car Street and start at both units.
I was noticing when I went to see the circuit around, so I'm taking it back and jump.
Yes, sir. This time, yes, sir.
Okay, is there any other discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Alderman Brooks.
Yes.
Alderman Kelly.
Yes.
Alderman Hoots.
Yes.
Alderman Payne.
Yes.
Alderman Gallagher.
Yes.
Alderman Wheeler.
Yes.
Alderman Flores.
Yes.
That motion carries. Next on the agenda is our utility bill adjustment docket.
Mr. Mayor, I move we approve the utility bill adjustment docket as presented on the state.
We have a motion by Alderman Payne, second by Alderman Gallagher. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Alderman Brooks.
Yes.
Alderman Kelly.
Yes.
Alderman Hoots.
Yes.
Alderman Payne.
Yes.
Alderman Gallagher.
Yes.
Alderman Wheeler.
Yes.
Alderman Flores.
Yes.
That motion carries. Next on the agenda is approval of our claims docket.
Mr. Mayor, I move we approve the claims docket in the amount of $1,210,454.61, including the May checks.
We have a motion by Alderman Payne, second by Alderman Kelly. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Alderman Brooks.
Yes.
Alderman Kelly.
Yes.
Alderman Hoots.
Yes.
Alderman Payne.
Yes.
Alderman Gallagher.
Yes.
Alderman Wheeler.
Yes.
Alderman Flores.
Yes.
That motion carries. There's one other item that I need to inform the board about that I excluded. We have been approached by the Trinity Healthcare organization for a donation. This has to do with providing medical care for the uninsured. It's a great organization in DeSoto County. They're trying to rally funding to help, especially with all that's going on with the virus, getting people adequate health care. They approached me. I explained how this board has requested that we do donations. The way we've done it is we do it each year at budget year. We take application and it's approved with the budget. So I have informed them of that. But I asked them to give me information I could forward to all of you. I just got that information today, so you'll check and see that I did send you an email. But it's too early to take any action. I just want you to know that I just got the information today, so we'll be discussing that at the next meeting. Okay, and the next on our agenda is to determine the need for executive session.
Mr. Mayor, I move we close determination of whether or not to go into executive session.
Okay, we have a motion by Alderman Payne, second by Alderman Brooks. All in favor say aye. All opposed say no. Ayes have it, motion carries. The need this evening is claims and litigation concerning utilities and city infrastructure, and economic development within the city, and personnel in the police department. Is there a motion to declare executive session?
So moved.
We've got a motion by Alderman Payne, second by Alderman Gallagher. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say no. Ayes have it, motion carries. The mayor and board will now enter executive session. Got it all.